Welcome to another edition of Metals and Mayhem. My name is Patrick Armstrong. I am the owner-operator of Heritage Metal Service, and today we're talking about the Special Service Medal. For those of you who served in the military through the 80s and 90s, Special Service Medal might mean something pretty significant to you. If you were in the Navy or Air Force, you probably spent time on ship trying to earn the medal over one or two NATOs, depending on the multiplying factor. And if you served in the Cold War over in Germany, you'd know as the Beer and Bratwurst Medal. So today, it's the Special Service Medal. The Special Service Medal was created in 1984, although it is predated for its service. Each awarding is awarded with a bar, similar to general service medals of other nations where they stack the bars. That's what sort of the idea was when they created it. It was created for activities and operations under exceptional circumstances where a medal was not already awarded. So when it comes to the Special Service Medal, you'll see on the obverse, which is the front, the Canadian maple leaf surrounded by laurels. It's a 36 millimeter medal, which is standard in Canada. It has a straight slot suspender. There is no naming along the rim. And on the reverse, it has Special Service in English and in French, along with the Royal Cipher. The ribbon itself is a standard 32 millimeter ribbon. It has white and red flanking on the outside, which are the colors that were appointed to Canada by King George V in 1921. The center color, however, tends to have a bit of debate, as in on the internet it tends to show up black, but in fact it's called unification green. Sidebar, what is unification? In 1968, the Royal Canadian Navy, the Canadian Army, and the Royal Canadian Air Force were merged together to create the Canadian Armed Forces. It was designed as a cost-saving measure, however, it was highly controversial at the time. In fact, one of Canada's war heroes from World War II in Korea, Rear Admiral William Landymore, left his position and resigned over the whole idea. During the unification years, Canadian forces wore what's called rifle green dress uniforms, and that's what you normally see with the Army today. If you were Navy, you wore a Navy cap badge, you had a Navy anchor as a badge underneath your name tag. Air Force had their own distinctive insignia. However, everybody wore that same uniform. Everybody had this same look. It wasn't until Prime Minister Brian Mulroney in the mid-80s that we started to get back to having our own distinctive uniforms. The Navy went back to having naval uniforms. The Air Force went back to having traditional Air Force uniforms. We still kept some commonalities. And then later on into the 2000s, the Canadian Navy became the Royal Canadian Navy. They took back what's called the Executive Curl. The Air Force became the Royal Canadian Air Force. They took back their pearl accoutrements for their uniform, and the Army went back to pips and crowns and what have you. One of the first bars created was for Pakistan, 1989 to 1990. However, the mine clearance mission was soon superseded by the United Nations Special Service Medal, so Canadian personnel can return their Pakistan 1989-1990 bar Special Service Medal and get the United Nations Special Service Medal. The next bar is for alert. 180 days are required, and since 1947, it has backtracked to have been awarded to anyone who has served that minimum time in good standing up at CFS alert. The next bar is the Peace Bar. Peace Bar is for 180 days of service for missions and operations not already covered by another medal. However, the Peace Bar was replaced in June of 2001 by the Canadian Peacekeeping Service Medal, which again, we'll cover on another issue. The NATO bar for 180 days from 1951 to 2004, the 180 days was standard. Some missions had multiplying factors. A lot of, say, Standing Force Atlantic, the 180 days did not take into account port visits, so it was not uncommon that sailors and aircrew would have to do 2 different missions just to get the NATO. In 2004, the directive has changed. Of course, this is a more modern update, but it's retroactive to 2004, and now 45 days are required to earn the NATO bar. There are no rotation bars, and when we get to the undress ribbon, you'll see that how the devices work is a little different compared to what's normal nowadays. If you have less than 180 days before 2004, so you not qualify at that time, and you have days for NATO after 2004, you can qualify for the SSM. If you do not have any days, say you left service before 2004 and you didn't qualify the 180 days before that was required, unfortunately, you still don't qualify. The next bar is the Humanitas bar. It's for humanitarian missions, not already covered by something else, and it's 30-day requirement. It's from 1984 to 2009. In 2009, it's been replaced by the Operational Service Medal specifically for humanitarian missions. On the decline of the bars, they started to create new missions to revamp the medal and bring it back into the Canadian Forces sort of operations. The Ranger bar is backtracked from 1947 forward for a minimum of 3 patrols for Canadian Rangers for Type 3, 4, 5, and 6 missions as the only qualification periods. Brings us to today with the Expedition bar. The Expedition bar is retroactive to July 2007. It's a 45-day requirement, and one of the missions most famous will be the Canadians in Ukraine are being awarded the Special Service Medal with the Expedition bar. When we come to the undress ribbon, again, we're under the old system, not the new system, which we'll cover at a later episode. Because every medal is awarded at least with 1 bar. When you are awarded your first medal, your undress ribbon will have no devices. Devices are those funky little maple leaves and things like that you see on ribbons. This will have just the plain ribbon. When you are awarded your second bar, so say you have your NATO and now you're being awarded the Peace bar, which we know is now defunct, but we're going to go back a bit, you would wear a silver maple leaf on the undress ribbon. A third bar, say they sent you to alert, you would wear a gold maple leaf on the undress ribbon, and should you have a fourth or more, you would have a red maple leaf. There's no additional factors or additional devices like what's current. The SSM, you can only have silver, gold, or the red maple leaf, and that's it. One quick note is that there are no post-nominals with the Special Service Medal. And I say that because it amazes me how many times I see people's business cards or you'll see obituaries and it'll have SSM. And while it certainly is an honor to be awarded this medal, there are no initials that come after your name with it. Time for the Medals of Mayhem mailbag. You may find it surprising, but even after 1 episode, I received a number of emails. I won't cover the ones that are more derogatory. We'll stay on the more positive side. First mail comes from Adam in Goderich asking, what is a royal cipher? Good question, Adam. The royal cipher is the royal monogram for each sovereign. So for ourselves, Elizabeth Regina II, and every single sovereign has their own, which indicates their initials as well as where they are in their lineage. So the 2nd, the 5th, what have you. Keep the mail coming, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. On behalf of all of us at Heritage Medal Service, I just want to say thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you again.